Yeah.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Just made myself a cup of tea.
Okay, well, excellent, excellent. My first question really is, what's made you want to reissue these Flower Kings albums, and why now?
Why now? Well, the thing is, I found out. I mean, gradually, I've been finding out that lots of the albums you can't actually get. So hearing from fans, hearing from people that, okay, I tried to buy that one, or Retropolis, I tried to buy Start As We Are, and I can find it anywhere. So I asked the record company, they said, no, that's out of print. And then there was another one and another one and another one. And suddenly I realized that almost half of the catalog was out of print. So, and I think that's part of it. And the other part is probably coming from the record company, because they realized that vinyl seems to be the thing now.
Right.
Everybody wants vinyl. I mean, if it's a colored vinyl, even better.
Well, as much as I love vinyl, I've got a huge CD collection, and I just thought if I have my CD collection on vinyl, I would need to buy another house just to keep it all.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy, but it just, I think it's, I would say probably a passing phase, but right now it seems like just crazy. If I may be wrong, but it seems like I saw somewhere about the transatlantic recording we made in Paris at the Olympia. It seems like it's not coming on CD, it's only coming on vinyl and on a Blu-ray. Okay. But I can be wrong. I can be wrong.
Do you think this drive to return to vinyl, is it partly fueled by purely nostalgia, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's possibly. I mean, from the fans' point of view, I guess it is, because in particular, progressive rock seems to be selling well. And if you were a fan of Jethro Tull or Yes or something like that, you know, yeah, of course you want a new, better version of whatever going for the one or whatever stand up or this was or something like that. So part that I think, but I think it could be sort of, I mean, understand me right now, but it could be money driven. It's like it's a way of selling the same album again.
Yes,
and that's why I put in a lot of work into making the new albums worth buying again, you know. So I remixed for the second time. I remixed actually For the Future, because I did a remix for that one 5 or 6 years ago. But now with the studio setup, I have sort of up the quality of all the converters and everything.
Right.
So now I think I have the tools for making really good masters again. So picking up the original masters, mastering them again, even analog. So I have the finest tube compressors and converters and everything. So I think actually taking the original tapes and mastering now again, that makes the album sound much better. But also I've been doing as much as I can remixes of the album. So it wasn't planned that way, but I mean, I put in an awful lot of work in this. Since almost a year ago, and that's when I started looking for tapes, you know, and finding all the tapes and finding all the, because I mean, when the Flower King started, we were still on reel-to-reel tape. Right. So that's how the first few albums were recorded, reel-to-reel tape. And then it was gradually going over to some sort of ADAT machines, which is kind of an 8-track digital video tape recorder that you had to link a couple of them together, you know, to get 24 channels or 60 channels or something like that. And sometimes a combination of both, and then enter, I think around 98 or 99, the computer-based recording. But you couldn't, I mean, the first computer-based, I'm a Macintosh guy, so I've been working on Macintosh. So the software or the computers or the processing on the computers couldn't really handle the number of channels, you know, because I think I could do the first few albums, or the first album is probably like 8 channels digital on a computer, and then linked together with a ADAT or the 16 track analog.
Okay. I often wonder with reissues and the amount of money there is in reissuing things. I said to my daughter, I wonder how many copies of Pet Sounds I will own by the time I die. There'll be, I don't know how many copies on the shelf there'll be by the time it comes.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. I just realized, because I'm trying to clear out some space here in my studio, in my storage, and I found 3 copies of Relayer on CD.
Right.
And then there's, I think, 2 copies. My wife has one, and I have one of Relayer on vinyl.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, because there's always something, you know, there's always a Japanese pressing that you think sound better, and it actually does. And then there's like whatever Steven Wilson remixes of Jethro Tull Yes, and you know, you get all the extras. And
is it not the danger when you remix an album? You might say, well, this album now sounds better, but the fans who bought the album originally might be in love with the way it sounded.
Oh, totally.
For example, the new Pink Floyd Animals 2018 mix, I just cannot get on with that mix. It sounds too clean, and it doesn't sound. My wife says I should just throw a blanket over the speaker and it'll sound like the old one.
Yeah, probably. That's the way to go. Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I think that's the difficulty, and that's what makes it even more difficult to make sure that you don't make it sound too modern, if you know what I mean. So, and that's also why I use mostly I have the options of using the equalizer, which is a very, very, very good American top class equalizer analog, but it has the option of doing either tube or not tube. So by using the tube setting, actually you sort of I don't know, you make the low end a little bit bigger and not so detailed, and you get the upper frequencies, like the brightness a little bit warmer, so closer to what the album would have sounded if it was mixed in the 70s, I think, you know, or on like on the Neve desk, which is my favorite gear. And these are about the same. I mean, the people who have the Neve desks from the 70s, they still have them, and you pay a lot of money for that kind of thing. So many times our Kings have been recording in the studio. We have, rather than the location, we have looked at what kind of desk do they have. So we have recorded with Neve, but so I think actually I do understand what you're saying, and I even read people say, oh, why do you remix that album? You can't make that better, or I hate the new mixes you did. Yeah, maybe you do, but maybe there's other people that want to hear the details that was in the recording from the beginning, you know.
Yeah, well, the Pink Floyd Animals mix, I enjoy it because I enjoy hearing some of the textures I couldn't hear in the original. But the original had an atmosphere that is now missing, and that atmosphere is part of the character of the music for me. And for me, I prefer the original. Let's talk about Pink Floyd, of course.
No. I do understand, and sometimes even things like distortion can be part of the sound, or the intensity of the music. I mean, I remember the original vinyl of Yes Relayer at Gates of Delirium, in this middle section where they just go crazy on drums, and Steve Howe is just going crazy on the guitar. I always at the time felt that, oh, I wish that would sound a little bit cleaner, you know, because it feels like they're saturating everything. But once you get the cleaner version of it, you kind of miss the chaos, that the distortion.
It becomes part of the character of the
totally.
Absolutely. You've got an album called Islands. I'm just curious, what is the meaning or concept behind that record, and is it influenced at all by King Crimson? Is that a nod to King
No,
Crimson?
not there. I mean, in general, I think some of us are influenced by King Crimson in general, but that specific album is definitely not. That's not the point. The thing is,
Okay.
we were isolated. So
Yes. Okay.
yeah,
Well,
we
it's a
were.
lockdown album.
Yeah, I mean, we. This is the album that we made during COVID.
Ah, okay.
So we were isolated. The keyboard player was in America. Drummer was in Italy, and I mean, no one could travel really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jonas was in Austria, so we had to find a way to record an album, and by sending, of course, you can do that. I mean,
So islands is this idea of you're all in a separate place.
we were on islands, different islands, making an album, sending to each other.
But you've got Roger Dean. Didn't Roger Dean do the artwork? I mean, that must have been a thrill.
He did. That's something that came, a suggestion that came from the record company, and I said, yeah, sure, of course. But don't you think it will turn out to be a little bit too much? Yes, then I said. Yeah, no, not really.
With your Jon Anderson connections as well.
Yeah, maybe. So, but anyway, and I mean, Roddy was great to work with. He just sent me a couple of sketches, and I picked one, and yeah, I mean, it's, well, let's put it this way. I mean, he's been around for a long time. I remember the very first album I saw he made was for a band called The Gun, actually.
Yeah.
Gun,
yeah.
remember them?
Yeah.
It Race with the Devil, I think. Remember that?
I mean, he worked for Uriah Heep very early on as well, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he did for
Uriah. Was that pre Yes? Uriah Heep.
Yeah, that was Yes. The Gun album was in 67 or even 66, I think.
Well,
and
Uriah
then
Heep must have been 73. So maybe it was after, because Fragile was 71, wasn't it? That was his first album.
71, yeah. But before that, he made also for Uriah Heep, I think. Okay. He made for let me see. He made for a Afro rock band called Ossibisa.
No.
Remember that?
No, I don't.
Oh, already. That's one of the first he made also, and that's he made actually 2 albums for album cover for them, and that was like an elephant with because they were Afro band, so they were kind of the English equal to Santana, but
Okay, sounds interesting.
Yeah, and they had elephant with dragonfly wings.
Yeah,
there's two albums he made for them, and then the first one I think I saw must have been Fragile, Yes, and then he did a couple more for Yes. But I think he's so connected with Yes over the years. I mean, and now lately, of course, most of them are Roger Dean.
Sure.
So I think
he's part of the band's DNA now, isn't he?
Oh, totally. But I mean, he's a great guy, a lovely guy to work with, and very easy to work with. So yeah, we did that, but we didn't want to stay doing another and another and another, with Roger Dean. So.
Sure.
So I think it belongs to Yes in a way,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you've got a track called Black Flag. I'm just curious, is that a political number?
Not really.
All right.
That's just
to me, I'm thinking either pirates or a symbol of something dark, maybe.
It could be. I mean, it's. I think it's up to anyone who listen, but reality is it's just like one of those songs that sometimes you get inspired by something. I saw something like a TV series about pirates,
Oh, okay.
And that I enjoyed quite a bit, and just got inspiration from that one.
Oh, okay. I mean, we talk about political things. I mean, I'm probably barking up the wrong tree. You've got a song called Lost America as well, and I'm just wondering, were you commenting in any way on the way the country was at the time, and also Miracles for America and songs like that?
Yeah.
I wonder if you were making some sort of commentary on the state of politics in that country.
A little bit. I mean, if you have someone like Donald Trump, I mean, you can't really look away from that. It's crazy.
Well, it's certainly a figure that you just can't help but to voice an opinion about, I think, or write about, I suppose, as an artist.
I think I've been told to not do that, many times by certain people, but I mean, it's easy if you have them, whatever, on Facebook as friends, and they
Yeah.
think I'm a great guitar player or a great writer, but you shut up, you're flagging, you hate America. No, I don't hate, I love America.
Yeah.
But there's certain politics that certain things that I don't love,
Well,
about
I
it.
mean, I on my channel, I don't really talk about. Well, you start talking about politics, you start alienating parts of your audience,
Oh, yeah,
I think.
totally.
And
Yeah, totally.
but I think you're Sweden. I think you're from Sweden, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Because
correct.
they've taken a step in that political direction as well, I believe.
Unfortunately, yeah, we've been talking. Me and my wife, we've been talking the last few days because it's just crazy the way it went now after the election. But we'll see what happens. I mean, if we're lucky, it won't change much. But it's like it's not the way we want to see it go, to be honest.
What you need is a bit of political stability, like we have in the UK at the moment.
Oh, come on. Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
Well, somebody said they should put a on number 10. They should put one of those revolving
We're
doors.
revolving doors. That's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's on her way out, right?
That's my word. I mean, she's the shortest serving prime minister in English history. Really, it's.
I think I told my wife about a week ago. I said he will be gone very, very soon, sooner than we can, and I was right.
Yeah, she won't last long. Anyway, let's move away from politics. Who wants to talk about politics? I want to talk about Jon Anderson. I'm curious to know what he was like to work with, and did he get his harp out and things like that, and all that stuff, and drive you crazy with that?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Did he get his what?
Harp. He has a harp thing.
Oh, no. I was actually thinking about that yesterday. He didn't put. I don't think he put any harp on the recording, and I was thinking about it yesterday because he sent me stuff a couple of days ago, for the second album. We've been working on it, and then it just so much. I mean, the thing with Flower Kings came up again, and we started touring, and he did touring with Trevor and Rick, and then he did other stuff with the kids, and there's always been something, so we're halfway on a second album. And then now he contacted me last week, and for whatever reason, I just started thinking about the songs we have, and I started thinking about the albums he's been making over the years. I mean, all the stuff with Vangelis, and that I love some of that stuff. He did like some orchestral work with like a big orchestra, and
Vangelis was asked to join Yes. Did you know that?
I know.
Oh, yes, that was interesting. That would have been an interesting combination.
Yeah, it could have been. I'm not sure it would have worked, but I mean, I love Vangelis. I have lots of albums with Vangelis, and so I mean, between all the stuff he's been doing, I've been thinking, okay, there's stuff, and I mean, I love the first solo album he did, Lies of San Hilo. I love that one. Yeah. And there's pretty much him playing everything, and there's lots of harp on that one. And I was thinking, well, we should use harp, you should play harp on something. So we will see. We'll see. But
did working with him influence you in any way in terms of your writing or?
Yeah, I mean, influenced by him. I think even before working with him, because of I mean, I loved Yes music since I was a teenager. So, I mean, there's no way you can get away from that, from him or from David Bowie or from the Beatles or whatever, all these bands, these interesting fusion bands like Mahavishnu Orchestra or Shikori and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. All this music, that you heard over the years, of course, you get influenced, and Yes, in some ways, I have to say that I think sometimes I feel Yes music stand the test of time better than Genesis even. I mean, I love Genesis, but in some strange way, I think, and even better than King Crimson. And I have to say, I love these groups, but I think there's something about Yes music that sounds more up to date or modern. If you look, and I'm not talking about the latest versions of Yes, I'm talking about Topographic Oceans, Going for the One, Relayer. These early albums, I think, are very creative and interesting, and so I think there's something that I'm coming back to, you know, and I can listen to again, just like I can listen to some of the 70s Chicory albums or the Mahavishnu or stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm curious, as I was listening to Transatlantic this morning. I mean, what is the meaning? You seem to have this motif of the spaceship. Does that signify anything for you? I mean, it seems to be on all the albums.
No, I mean the reality is that we made the first album in I think in 99. I think we recorded it in America, and then we went home and started mixing, and then we got this deal with Inside Out, and they wanted to release the album, and we were suddenly in the position where we needed artwork. So, and I think there wasn't any, and I said, I had a friend, Per Nordin, who is working in computer graphics, you know. He was kind of early with that. So, and he showed me a few things, you know, that he suggested for the Flower Kings.
Okay.
And I had this lying around on my computer, actually. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll send them to the other guys in Transatlantic. Maybe this is something we could use.
Yeah.
Because this kind of this spaceship or this Zeppelin thing, you know, and they liked it. So we decided to use that. And when we had that one, I think when we made the second album, I always try to find something new, something that's, you know, a little bit surprising or unexpected, you know. But there were certain fractions within the band that felt that, oh, we should probably use that spaceship again, you know. Okay. We used it.
You're stuck with it now.
Yeah, I mean, we stuck with it, and the third album, that was Whirlwind. We used it again, and then I felt like, oh, third time maybe we should find something else completely different. But then we made the fourth album named Kaleidoscope, and I have to say I was totally against that album cover. That I didn't like that at all.
Okay.
It's a kaleidoscope of the same blimp, but that's the way it works, you know, in a democracy. So here we are with that, the green one. But then I suggested, if we're going to use a spaceship, then let's at least try to find a different one, so not using the exact same blimp.
Yeah.
So I just went online and found some stuff, you know, and then we use
variations.
A variation, another one. So that one is used on the latest album, and on the probably gonna be used. Well, it definitely is used in the video that accompany the big black box.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, how did when Transatlantic came together and you did that first album? Yeah. First of all, how did you come together, and did you envisage there was going to be life for this band beyond that one album?
I think it was just we wanted to make one album, and I think it came together because Mike Portnoy and Neil Morse said, let's try to write some music together or make an album, record together. Yeah. And they knew of Pete Wawas. I think that Dream Theater and Marillion toured at one point together in America, a few shows. So they knew Pete, and they knew he was a great guy and a great bass player. And then they had another guitar player they were thinking of using. I can't remember I think it's Jim Mattheos. He was I can't remember the name of the band, but it was kind of a metal style band, you know. For whatever reason, he couldn't do the album, and then Neil Morse and we were in contact, and we met because we played Progfest in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Just 2 years earlier. So we were sort of in contact, and I helped Neil to get some concert venue addresses and stuff in Europe, etc. So we were talking over the internet, and also I think that Mike Portnoy found out about the Flower Kings via some friend, and so they thought that, well, maybe we can talk to Roine, because he writes cool songs and play guitar, etc. A little bit different style, not so metal, but
Yeah.
so it turned more, I think, probably I was probably a reason why the band turned more into classic old school prog.
Okay.
While Jim has been there, probably been more like a metal prog band, I think.
Right.
And with my style of writing too, you know.
Well, I'm interested in the Absolute Universe. I'm curious to know what made you want to put it out as two different versions, and which version do you prefer?
Well, there was actually, in the beginning, was just meant to be an album.
Yeah.
And the album took time. I think this is before COVID, and this was a time when you could still tour.
Yeah.
I think they came here to Sweden to record the basic tracks. Then they went out with the Flying Colors, Neil and Mike, and Pete probably out with Marillion.
Yeah.
And I had something too. So it just take a bit of time to get an album together, and you know, writing the lyrics and sort of orchestrating the album and everything. You know, it just takes time.
Sure.
So we had a skeleton, but you have to make the songs into real songs, and with the correct lyrics and everything. So that went on, but I think the other guys were on tour, and I was here in the studio and starting to work on it, you know, and just trying stuff, you know, and singing over sections and playing lots of guitar, etc., etc. And was quite happy with what we had, and then I think this was September, and then in December, I think, when they were done with their touring, Neil sent an email saying, "Oh, hey guys, I've listened to the album, and I think it's too long, and I'm not sure every bit is good. How about we try to rewrite some stuff?" So he did write some new stuff for it, and so we had to track again, you know, certain bits. But now we have this monster, this piece of music that's just like a monster, you know. So many ideas, and then we couldn't decide what version was best, you know. I think we ended up thinking Pete and Neil thinking the short version was probably better, while Mike and myself thinking that, oh, there were so many great bits on the long version, you know. So what you have on the one that's called Forevermore, that's the original version, while the Lilac one is the shortened and the newer version. So they even have, I mean, songs have different lyrics, because I was singing over stuff. I was singing over my stuff, but I was singing over Neil's stuff also, you know. But then he came back and wanted to write his own lyrics and stuff. So on the big black box, that's the even longer version, you know. It's just crazy. I don't know. I haven't even checked. It's probably a couple of hours long, you know.
Right. Well, I can't remember what version I've got. I think mine is the longer version, is the one I have. But one of my subscribers, Mike Bruce, has asked me to say to you, have you ever had a desire just to write a 3-minute pop song? I know you're a big fan of the Monkees. Would you ever feel like writing songs like that?
Songs like that, I think I have written songs like that. There's a time, because I started out in the mid-70s, you know, with my band Kaipa here in Sweden.
Okay.
And we were progressive rock. We were kind of the whatever Focus or the Genesis of Sweden, you know. They
Mhm.
call us.
Mhm.
So we did that, you know, with Swedish lyrics and stuff. And then I quit that band, and then I had some years where I worked in studios for other people, and then producing other artists also, you know. So that was more like pop music. So
Oh,
that
I
was
see.
aimed at radio.
No, okay. Okay.
So I do that kind of thing too.
Okay. So he's probably not aware of that stuff, maybe.
No. That's I think the prog fans don't know about it, you know, and I don't think they wouldn't be interested in that kind of, because most of it is actually sung in Swedish, so it's like
Okay.
aimed at be played on Swedish radio, and it was so it was. I wouldn't say I was super successful, but I was fairly successful with what I did. Produce. So that was a time, maybe 10 years, and then I came back to the progressive rock again, you know, and did that for a couple of years, trying to get a record deal in Sweden, but progressive rock wasn't really popular among the record companies at the time, if you know what I mean.
Course,
They
yeah.
were looking for a hit, and I stopped writing hit songs. So they said, "Oh, these songs are too long, and do you really need to have a guitar solo in every song, or can you sing in Swedish, please?" And I started singing in Swedish, and they still didn't like it. They thought it wasn't commercial enough, and I understand it now, but. So I thought, oh, what the heck? I go back to write progressive rock, because that's
Yeah.
what I really love to do, you know. That's
Sure.
that's my music. I love pop music, as I said. Well, I love the Monkees, I love Beatles, I love Elton John, and
Mhm.
there's lots of stuff, you know. Crosby, Stills, Nash. There's lots of pop music. Fleetwood Mac. I mean, both the blues Fleetwood Mac.
Blues or the
Yeah, I mean, with Peter Green, that's lovely. But also the pop version of Fleetwood Mac, you know, with Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. I love some of the Eagles stuff, not all of it, but some of it.
yeah. What's your favorite Eagles album?
Sorry?
What's your favorite Eagles album?
Oh my goodness. What
So
would that?
I have a love for it's not an album that is highly acclaimed, but I have a love for Desperado, you know, the Cowboy album. I
Oh
love
yeah.
it.
Yeah, correct. That
Glyn
would be.
Johns, I think Glyn Johns, he was the producer on those first couple of albums, I think, as well. So
Yeah, but I mean, there's something about them, and I have to say, and I saw them live in the 70s also. They were fantastic. I mean, the sound was just amazing playing. So I love that kind of pop music too. But then I mean, I can go from that and I quickly into King Crimson, Lark's Tongue in Aspic, or whatever, fully improvised craziness, you know.
big leap, isn't it, from Hotel California to Lark's Tongue?
Oh yeah, totally. But I love it, and I love some fusion jazz too. I mean, just crazy stuff, you know. As I mentioned, Mahavishnu Orchestra and stuff like that. So
I have to ask you, it's not exactly related to your music, but in 1972, Jethro Tull released an album called "Thick as a Brick," and this album is Ian Anderson is enraged that Aqualung was labeled a concept album, so he made this as a kind of a spoof concept. But he says on that album that there is a gentle making fun a little bit of the progressive rock scene at the time. I just wondered, did you ever hear that in that album?
no, not really. Not really. I can't. I mean, probably that was his idea, but I don't know if it actually worked.
It's quite interesting because there's lots of like noodly bits on "Thick as a Brick," but they just collapse into themselves. I'm just wondering. That's what he's.
That could be. I could see what he was trying to make, but I have to say, I don't have all the Jethro Tull albums, but I have a lot of them, and I have to say, I think one of the best they made was still the 70s, I think. Yeah, that was one called A Passion Play.
73.
Yeah, A Passion Play, I think, is a wonderful album. Wonderful.
It's a fantastic album, but it was mauled by the critics. The critics hated it.
I know. I
And
know.
if you heard all the Stephen Wilson's put it out, all the Chateau Disaster recordings that Ian Anderson calls, because they recorded the album in France,
Yeah.
abandoned it, and then recorded a different album in England. So you've got if you get the Stephen Wilson version, you get all the recordings. It's a fantastic package.
Is that available for Passion Play also?
It is, yes, but those Jethro Tull special sets now, because they're out of print, you have to remortgage your house to buy one on eBay, I think. But I suspect Ian Anderson will reissue it next year, because next year is the 50th anniversary of Passion Play. I think it'll be reissued.
And you know what? We're on the same record label now, so.
Oh well, maybe you can tap him up for a copy. Maybe.
I guess I could.
I have one last question for you, and I usually have a reputation for asking a question that's a bit of a stinker. And this one for you is, which album is better in your opinion, Selling England by the Pound or Close to the Edge by Yes? Which of those albums is the better album, and why?
Well, first, they're fantastic albums, both of them. I think.
Yeah.
I think actually both of them stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And it's probably a question. Well, if let's say if I listen on Monday to Close to the Edge, I'll say this is the better album. Then I listen Tuesday to Selling England. It's going to say, oh well, it's got this one. It's got the Battle of Epping Forest. It's got Cinema Show. Come on. Yeah. This is.
Do you not feel that Close to the Edge has a more timeless quality though to it than perhaps Selling England?
It just, I don't know how to put it. I've been thinking sometimes, because I've got similar questions, and sometimes you're just talking to a musician and you start talking about these classic albums from the 70s, what the music means, and did you listen to that one? Did you listen to that one? And what do you hear in this? So I've been thinking about it, and well, more like in general, Yes and Genesis, how I look at these bands now, because I was first a Yes fan actually, and then I found Genesis, and I think, oh, this band is great. I mean, and they did Selling England, and then they did The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which is a fantastic album.
Yes. Yes.
And I think Peter Gabriel gradually, I mean, you listen to Nursery Crime and you can see he's finding his way. Foxtrot, he's better, he's more convinced. Selling England, he's great. And I mean, things like Battle of Epping Forest, and there's some beautiful stuff on it, But I think probably Yes was the more grown-up band, if you know what I mean. It's I don't know how to say it, but it's they felt more like already timeless. They were in their own space, sort of,
It's interesting to talk about Yes being your first love, but for me it was Pink Floyd. Then I got into Genesis, and then I got into Yes when they released 90125 in the 80s.
Oh, goodness.
It was a commercial album. It's a big album.
Yeah.
It made me want to investigate their early stuff, and that's kind of how I got into Yes, really.
Wow. I mean, for me, was of course the Beatles first, and then and the Monkees. The Beatles, and then I get into what I would call, well, the Beatles were actually, I mean, the White Album, Abbey Road, Magical Mystery Tour. They were sort of prog music, as I view it, if I look at it now. But they got me into bands like Procol Harum, Vanilla Fudge, Frank Zappa and the Mothers, and then on and on. King Crimson, of course, and all sorts of weirdness, and jazz fusion, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Chick Corea, etc., Herbie Hancock. So that's my path. And if you listen to, I think I heard Mahavishnu Orchestra before I heard Yes, actually. So that's, I mean, that's weird, and I know for sure that they were listening to Mahavishnu when they made Close to the Edge. I understand it now, but I think Jon said at some point that they were so impressed by Mahavishnu, and you can hear the opening section of Close to the Edge. It's sort of their version. I would actually say that probably it's even better than Mahavishnu. The way they play it, I mean, Chris Squire's bass lines and Steve Howe just burning on the guitar, but I know for sure that they were so impressed by seeing my Vision Orchestra, so they would try to make something that was
like that.
also, yeah, spaced out and no boundaries, more like almost like free jazz, you know.
Okay, so those Flower King reissues, they're out now, aren't they? I believe you can purchase them.
They're not all of them actually. We're trying to do them every second month. There's a release. So I mean, we started with Back in the World, Retropolis, and then Flower Power, Start As We Are. The last ones were Space Revolver, Rainmaker. And there's more to come. Unfold the Future will come out in about the month, and then on with Adam and Eve, Summon of Evil, Paradox Hotel, etc. We can't do everything, and as I said, I put in an awful lot of time into remixing, remastering, finding old photos. I mean, just stuff like that, you know. Digging into the vaults and trying to find something that people haven't seen, and you know, make it interesting for anyone who buy the album, not just because I think that's a rip-off, just releasing the same album again, you know. And I mean, for me, it feels good to know that I can give them something more. If they pay one more time, you know, you should get something. You should get a cleaner mix. You should get more powerful. You listen to the drums, you can feel the kick drum, you can feel the clarity of the guitars or the synths. And there should be something in the booklet or the packaging, something you haven't seen, you know.
Roine, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you about progressive rock and the Monkees and everything else.
Yeah, the Monkees.
I hope you have a lovely. Are you in Sweden at the moment?
Yeah, I'm in Sweden. Yeah,
are you a couple of hours behind us here, or it's?
I'm actually. Let me see. Yeah. Let's see. I have now 8:45, and that means you have 7:45, right?
Oh, 8:45. So yeah, but it's 7:45 here. So you're an hour ahead of us.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, anyway, what is left of your evening? I hope you enjoy it, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll put the links under the video, and I will get this video uploaded probably tomorrow now, I think.
Okay. Very cool.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.